In the vast ocean of the Dharma, learning from the teacher is like a brilliant jewel that illuminates the path for sentient beings to understand the profound mysteries of the mind. When we face the intricate and complex reality, we often become lost in appearances and are unable to distinguish truth from falsehood. Known as the Treatise on Consciousness Only, Vijñāptamitra, it is the fundamental scripture of the Yogācāra school, brought back and translated from India by Master Xuanzang. It contains special teachings specifically for practitioners in the age of Dharma decline, offering us a key to unlocking the treasure of the mind. This commentary not only elaborates in detail the theoretical system of the Yogācāra school, but, more importantly, guides us on how to recognize true sages and discern the authenticity of spiritual practice in the degenerate age characterized by the 5 impurities. A little-known historical episode may reveal to us the precious value of this wisdom. During the Jingguan era of the Tang dynasty, the Great Sand Temple within Chang'an City was the center of Buddhist studies at that time. After enduring countless hardships, Master Xuanzang returned from India with a vast collection of Sanskrit scriptures and began translating them into important texts such as the Treatise on the 10 Grounds. During this period, the study of Buddhism in China experienced an unprecedented flourishing. Huiming, a young monk born into the Sakya clan, could have enjoyed a life of luxury and ease, but he resolutely left home to seek the Dharma due to his deep confusion about the great matters of birth and death. He was naturally intelligent and possessed an extraordinary enthusiasm for Yogācāra studies, immersing himself day and night in the scriptures and treatises translated by Master Xuanzang. He was particularly fascinated by the profound teachings on the transformation of consciousness found in the Cheng Weishir Luan, the establishment of consciousness only. One day, while Huiming was organizing scriptures in the Sutra Pavilion, he accidentally discovered a yellowed manuscript containing the recorded dialogues between Master Xuanzang and the venerable preceptor Jishin of Nalanda Monastery in India, discussing doctrinal debates. This manuscript is not an official scripture, but rather the personal notes of a disciple who accompanied the master at that time. Its content involves various signs of the emergence of sages in the age of Dharma decline, as well as the subtle connections between these signs and the 5 levels of samsara. Huiming cherished it as a precious treasure and stayed up all night studying it. The manuscript records that Jiaoxian once said to Xuanzang that in the era of the Dharma's decline, sentient beings are deeply burdened by heavy karmic obstacles and wield swords to repel the sages. To discern true sages from false, one must observe the transformation of their mind consciousness. According to the theory of Yogācāra, sentient beings' rebirth is divided into 5 levels. First, the ordinary beings level. Second, the base of merit level. Third, the practice of the path level. Fourth, the establishment of the path level. And fifth, the cultivation of the path level. Each level corresponds to a different degree of transformation in consciousness, and this transformation will inevitably manifest specific signs in real life. As Huiming read this passage, countless questions arose in his heart. What exactly do these 5 levels refer to? What specific signs can identify a saint? Just as he was lost in thought, the temple bell rang, and the abbot, Master Huiyuan, gathered the monks for a Dharma assembly. Master Huiyuan was a direct disciple of Xuanzang and was proficient in the theory of Yogācāra, consciousness-only school. At the Dharma assembly, Huiyuan expounded on the final transformation process from attaining Buddhahood to becoming a perfectly realized wisdom being. Huiming, unable to contain his inner curiosity, raised his hand to ask, "Master, the scriptures mention that in the age of Dharma decline, the appearance of sages is accompanied by special signs. How was this related to the 5 levels of samsara? In this era filled with confusion, how shall we discern genuine sages from false ones?" The Dharma hall fell silent for a moment, and all the monks' eyes focused on Huiming. With a solemn expression, Huan glanced around before saying, "This question pertains to profound and esoteric doctrines beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. However, since you have asked, I shall briefly explain, hoping that all of you will earnestly contemplate it. Huiming gradually explained that, according to the teacher's understanding, the eighth consciousness, the alley of Vijnana, is like a vast storehouse that contains seeds of good and evil karma accumulated over countless kalpas. These types of karma are like seeds that determine the level of samsara in which sentient beings exist. The appearance of the arhat is precisely the result of the maturation of these seeds of wholesome karma, manifesting the transformation of consciousness reaching a certain state. Let us first understand the 5 realms of samsara. Sentient beings born as ordinary beings possess all 8 consciousnesses, but are entangled by afflictions. The 6 sense faculties engage with the 6 external objects with attachment and discrimination, giving rise to afflictions such as greed, hatred, and ignorance. They generate karma, both wholesome and unwholesome, perpetuating the cycle of samsara. People at this level, even if they study Buddhism, often do so primarily for present life benefits or in hope of future life blessings. Their characteristic is having shallow understanding, clinging to external phenomena, and believing that all appearances possess inherent existence. In daily life, they are easily influenced by external surroundings, with emotions such as joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness clearly reflected on their faces, making it difficult to maintain inner tranquility. A practitioner with self-assessment has recognized the essential suffering of samsara and begins to accumulate the merit and wisdom necessary for liberation based on their own measure. They are able to distinguish and dispel coarse and heavy afflictions, yet they have not truly comprehended the principle of the emptiness of consciousness only. Such individuals demonstrate a certain level of cultivation in daily life and are able to control their emotions, but when faced with significant setbacks or temptations, they still reveal their ordinary, unenlightened nature. They have already begun to turn their observation inward, but have not yet completely freed themselves from the influence of external conditions and the essence of conceptual thought. They are gradually approaching the truth, yet have not truly attained direct realization. Their characteristic is the ability to a considerable extent control their emotions and behaviors, possess a deep understanding of the Dharma, and practice the teachings of the Buddha in daily life, yet they have not fully transcended the ego and knowledge duality. Such individuals can maintain a considerable degree of calmness and wisdom when dealing with interpersonal relationships, yet under certain circumstances, subtle afflictions may still arise. The Vijnanavada explicitly states that supernatural powers are not a necessary characteristic of a sage. The study of Vaishur emphasizes the transformation of the inner mind consciousness rather than the manifestation of external divine will. Some individuals, despite possessing supernatural powers, may still have not eradicated the attachment to self-view and remain trapped in the cycle of samsara. Some true sages, although lacking remarkable supernatural powers, have already attained genuine liberation. Therefore, we should not use supernatural powers as the criterion for identifying a sage. Huiyuan continued his explanation. The sage at the stage of the Way of the Sword has directly realized the true emptiness of suchness, transcending the scope of ordinary cognition. They have transformed the 6th consciousness into the wisdom of perfect observation and the 7th consciousness into the wisdom of equality. At that moment, just as the members were about to reveal the characteristics of a Kendo-level sage, a rapid ringing of the bell suddenly sounded outside the temple. A disciple hurriedly came to report that an official had arrived and asked the abbot to go out quickly to receive him. The member had to pause the explanation and said to Monk Zhong, "Let's stop here for today. The signs of the stages of the Sword Way and the Pathway Saints, and how to distinguish authenticity, will be detailed tomorrow." After speaking, he hurriedly left. Huiming's heart was filled with intense anxiety, for this was precisely the part he most wished to understand. He wanted to inquire further, but seeing that Huiyuan had already departed, he could only suppress the yearning in his heart and look forward to the Dharma talk the next day. The next morning, Huiming arrived early at the lecture hall, awaiting Huiming to continue the teaching session that had not been completed the previous day. Other monks arrived one after another, seemingly filled with anticipation for the unfinished topics from yesterday. Huiming saw Huiming's earnest expression and smiled faintly, saying, "You truly have a sincere heart seeking the Dharma." Today, we continue to explore the wisdom used to discern sages in the Yogācāra school of Buddhist philosophy. After confirming that all the listeners were seated, the member continued the Dharma talk. Yesterday, it was mentioned that those who have attained the stage of the Arhat, having personally realized the two truths and ultimate reality, undergo a fundamental transformation of consciousness, characterized by 5 major signs. First, not being overcome by tranquility, mental quiescence. The realized sages, having understood the truth of impermanence, know that all external phenomena are merely impressions painted by the mind. Therefore, they're no longer swayed by external circumstances. In life, they neither become excessively joyful in favorable circumstances nor overly sorrowful in adversity, maintaining a constant inner tranquility. Even when facing matters of life and death, one can maintain clear judgment without being entangled by emotions. This state is not indifference, but a transcendence of ordinary emotional fluctuations, reaching a higher level of wisdom and compassion. Secondly, it benefits the middle way. They neither cling to existence nor fall into nihilism, transcending the view of annihilation and the view of eternalism. This ensures that they do not fall into any extreme views, whether in matters of daily life or in their practice, always finding the balanced middle way. They are able to discern the value and limitations of various teachings and viewpoints, neither blindly following nor wholly rejecting them. Third, great compassion and equanimity. Upon reaching the 7th stage of the Bodhisattva path, the sage's self-attachment is fundamentally transformed into the nature of equanimity, enabling them to regard all sentient beings with equality, free from distinctions of closeness, favoritism, or aversion. This manifests as treating enemies and friends equally, without any partiality or distinction. Their compassion for all sentient beings does not arise from moral obligation, but stems from a profound understanding of the nature of life itself. In their view, all sentient beings are equal and unique, deserving of respect and compassion. Fourth, the growth of wisdom. Their 6th consciousness has transformed into the wisdom of wonderful observation, enabling them to thoroughly observe the true nature of all dharmas and understand the principles of dependent origination, emptiness, and faith. This is manifested in the ability to offer others the most appropriate teachings at the right time and place, directly pointing to the human mind. Their words are few, but each one strikes at the heart of the matter, helping others to unravel their knots and illuminate the path out of confusion. No matter how complex the problem, they can always discern the essence and identify the crucial point. Fifth, it assists in the cycle of birth and death and the attainment of nirvana. They neither crave samsara nor cling to nirvana, abiding steadfastly in the path of loyalty. This manifests as actively engaging in the world to benefit others, while remaining unmoved by the 8 winds of worldly phenomena. They neither evade reality nor cling to it. They do not deny the secular world, nor are they distressed by it. This state enables them to freely engage in worldly play, neither detaching from the world nor being defiled by it. Huiming pondered thoughtfully and asked, "What then are the characteristics of the saints who have attained stages on the path of cultivation? How do they differ from the saints at the stage of initial insight?" The path of wisdom is even more sublime for the sages who practice the stages of the path. They have transformed the former 5 sense consciousnesses into perfected activities and have transformed the 8th alaya vijnana into the great mirror wisdom. They have 3 characteristics. The first is natural ease and spontaneity. The saint at the stage of cultivation has eradicated subtle defilements. The transformation of consciousness has become genuine and matured. All virtuous actions can be performed effortlessly and naturally, without deliberate effort. Their compassion and wisdom naturally manifest without any semblance of contrivance. This state is like a clear mirror reflecting objects naturally and effortlessly, without intentional effort. In daily life, their every word and action naturally manifest wisdom and compassion, without the slightest trace of affectation or effort. Secondly, it does not assist in conceptualization. Although one practices all wholesome dharmas and liberates sentient beings, one does not cling to the thought of liberation, nor believes there is a self who liberates others. This is manifested in daily life as performing good deeds without expecting anything in return and making silent contributions without seeking recognition. They do not develop the slightest arrogance because of their merits, nor do they expect any rewards because of their virtues. In their view, giving alms to sentient beings is like the right hand helping the left hand. They are inherently one, without a distinction between the giver and the receiver. Thirdly, its wondrous functions are inexhaustible. It has transformed 80% of the fourfold wisdom and is endowed with various inconceivable marvelous functions, capable of arising in accordance with conditions, responding to and inspiring societal teachings. This is manifested in the ability to teach according to individuals' capacities, flexibly employing various skillful means to benefit sentient beings. They are not rigid in form nor attached to dogma, but can skillfully adapt different methods based on the various capacities and needs of beings, guiding them toward the path of liberation. Upon hearing this, an elderly monk could not help but ask, "Master, in today's chaotic society, some claim to have attained enlightenment. Others claim to be the reincarnation of certain Buddhas and even accept offerings and establish temples. How should we discern the authenticity of these individuals? How can one avoid being deceived by false saints?" The member's expression grew serious. The treatise on awareness and cognition ultimately provides a clear warning. Claiming virtue as virtue or righteousness as righteousness is a great falsehood. True saints seldom boast of themselves, nor do they proclaim their attainment of enlightenment to others, let alone seek fame or material gain through it. They engage more in silent practice, seeking no external recognition, focusing only on inner purity and awakening. To discern true saints from false ones, one can observe from three aspects. First, whether their mindset aligns with the sutras and teachings. Second, whether their words and actions are consistent. Third, whether they possess attachment to self or to dharma. A true saint must conform to the scriptures and teachings, embody consistency between words and actions, and stand beyond the two extremes of fixation. If a person claims to be a sage but contradicts the scriptures, acts inconsistently, or clearly displays attachment to self and dharmas, then no matter how much they boast about themselves, they cannot be a true sage. After a moment of reflection, Huiming asked again, what special connection exists between becoming a Yogācāra consummate practitioner, the 5 levels of samsara, and the age of dharma decline? Why is this particularly important for practitioners in our era? Huiming replied quietly, in the age of dharma decline, sentient beings undergo great turmoil, making genuine attainment through practice exceedingly difficult. During the period of the true Dharma, when the Buddha was present in the world, sentient beings possessed sharp faculties, making practice easy and effective in yielding results. During the period of the Dharma's propagation, although the Buddha was no longer present in the world, the Dharma continued to flourish, and many people were able to attain fruition. In the age of degeneration, the Dharma progressively declines. Sentient beings are burdened with heavy karmic obstacles, and attainment through practice becomes exceedingly difficult. Precisely because of this, those sages who can reincarnate as beings of wisdom at this time are even more rare and precious. The theory of becoming reality holds that in the age of Dharma decline, sages often appear in ordinary forms, without supernatural powers, which is not beneficial to sections. Instead, they teach sentient beings through their everyday words and actions, helping them gradually progress from the level of ordinary beings to the stage of accumulation and the stage of practice. They do not boast of themselves, nor seek external fame and status. They quietly walk in the world, guiding those with karmic connection along the path. This characteristic is related to the 5 levels of samsara in that, during the degenerate age of the Dharma, most sentient beings remain at the level of ordinary beings and the accumulation of merit, with few reaching the preparatory practice stage, and those who attain direct realization and the path of cultivation are even rarer. Therefore, in the age of Dharma decline, sages often focus on fundamental teachings, assisting sentient beings in cultivating virtuous roots and accumulating merits as the foundation for future liberation. They do not demand sentient beings to immediately attain lofty states. Instead, they patiently guide them step by step, adapting their teachings to individual capacities. Huiming suddenly realized the truth, so that is how it is. In this complex and intricate world, we should not expect saints to manifest supernatural powers or exhibit extraordinary traits. Instead, we should focus on whether their inner nature corresponds with the Dharma and truly embodies the wisdom and compassion arising from the transformation of consciousness into enlightenment. The member nodded approvingly. Exactly so. The Chung Weisher Luan teaches us that the transformation of consciousness is the core of practice. The transformation from an ordinary person to a sage is essentially the process of converting the deluded mind into bodhi and transforming consciousness into wisdom. A true saint requires no external proclamation. Their pure and serene nature naturally manifests, like the bright moon in the sky, illuminating without a word. In the age of Dharma decline, sentient beings possess little merit and shallow wisdom. To discern a true sage, one should not focus on external manifestations, such as supernatural powers or spiritual responses. Instead, one should observe whether the individual truly abandons attachment to the self and dharmas, genuinely embodies great compassion and equanimity, and sincerely comprehends the ultimate reality of all phenomena. This is precisely the key revealed by the theory of reality for discerning truth from falsehood. In this era of information overload, we should cultivate a discerning wisdom, not be deceived by appearances or fooled by falsehoods. Huiming bowed his head in deep contemplation for a long time. When he lifted his head again, his eyes were filled with clear brightness. Master, I understand. True cultivation is not about seeking divine will, but about returning to one's own mind and transforming the intention in rebirth. The sign of a saint manifesting in the world lies in their pure and unstained mind, as well as their impartial compassion towards all sentient beings. This light of wisdom, traversing millennia of time and space, still illuminates our hearts today. The member said with satisfaction, "You have already grasped the essence of the Yogācāra school. In the degenerate age of the Dharma, we should more diligently return to the fundamental teachings of Yogācāra on rebirth and accomplishment, not be deluded by external appearances, and focus on the pure transformation of ourselves. Only by doing so can one witness the true demeanor of sage in the 5 turbid and evil worlds, and also advance oneself onto the path of the sage." Later, Huiming compiled this doctrine into the treatise on substantial transformation, which became an important supplement to the study of Yogācāra. This commentary points out that practitioners in the age of degenerate Dharma should focus on the transformation of the mind, rather than pursuing external supernatural exhibitions. The true saint is characterized by the purity and equanimity of the mind nature. This is precisely the most precious revelation that becoming a substantive truth offers to future generations. In today's era filled with temptations and delusions, the wisdom of empirical study is especially precious. When we are lost in the ocean of appearances, unable to discern truth from falsehood, it is helpful to recall the teachings of the treatise on Buddhahood. True practice lies in transforming consciousness into wisdom, and the true victor is one whose mind nature is pure. This wisdom transcends time and space, spanning millennia, still shining with eternal light, guiding us to seek the path to awakening amidst the vast worldly existence.